Hi, welcome back to another episode of Unboxing Entrepreneurship. Creating a plan, experimenting with it, and perhaps watching it fail is part and parcel of being an entrepreneur. But what does it mean for you and how can you deal with it? I'm talking about this topic with my guest today. Roshni Baronia, the founder of Done For You podcast, will share her experiences of the last 15 years and 3 businesses about experimentation. Let's get right into it. Hi, Roshni. Welcome to Unboxing Entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Palvi. Happy to be here.
Great. So we've talked before, and we've shared our journey of what we have done in our entrepreneurship life, I guess. So I thought it would be great to talk to you about what you have gone through in the last so many years as an entrepreneur, and I think that would be very interesting to people. But before we get into that, let's have a quick introduction. What have you done in the past, and what are you working on right now?
Oh, uh, the most difficult question actually to start with, because if I talk about myself, it's been 15 plus years of being an entrepreneur. To
Hmm.
box it into a couple of minutes is always challenging, but this is unboxing entrepreneurship, so let's try that.
Yeah.
Um, so currently, what keeps me involved is my podcast production company, which is Done
Hmm.
For You podcast. And
Hmm.
in this company, we are specializing in creating podcasts for experts and entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants who want to leverage the medium of podcast for their business as a marketing tool, as a branding tool, and
Hmm.
just to share their wisdom, voice, and message with the world. So that's what
Yeah.
we do. We support them with the entire post production services, marketing, creatives, creation, strategy, all of those things. Prior to
Hmm.
this, I was doing sales consulting and business coaching for women-led startups and organizations. I was doing one-to-one consulting with women entrepreneurs as well, because in my years of being an entrepreneur and interacting with so many women entrepreneurs, I realized that sales has always been a very challenging
Yeah.
area for entrepreneurs, and especially so because it's less about the strategy but more about the mindset. So
Hmm.
that's where the coaching bit also came in. So I really worked on the skills and the mindset along with the strategy for the business owners and the startups. And
Hmm.
even before that, I was into e-commerce, which was into personalized products for kid.
Yeah.
It's been 15 plus years for me being an entrepreneur since 2009 till date, and Done For You podcast is effectively my third business. So yes,
Yeah.
here I am.
Awesome. So, I mean, I know Done For You podcast has come about from your own personal experience. Was the sales consulting also something that you personally went through, and that's why you created it?
Incidentally, not,
Oh,
because coming from a business background and having that genes of doing business, sales was
yeah.
something which I thought is like comes naturally to you. So if you
Right.
are a business owner, you have to sell kind of a thing. It never occurred to me that sales is challenging.
Yes.
But when when I thought in 2015 that this is a time
Hmm.
for me to now move out of my commercially led e-commerce business to do something which is more meaningful, more purpose
Hmm.
driven, and it
Hmm.
just not helps me grow my business but also helps
Hmm.
others. That's
Hmm.
when I went out and started asking people, okay, what is it that I can help you with? What is it that
Hmm.
you face maximum challenges with? If I were to start a consulting business, what is it that you need help with? And
Hmm.
that's when
Hmm.
people started coming back saying sales, sales, sales. And then I realized they want to do sales, but they don't like selling. They don't
Hmm.
like to be in the salesperson's shoes. So that
Correct.
was an interesting observation to see in my survey and conversations. And that's when I actually went ahead and did my certification in strategic management. So it was the other way
Hmm.
around. It was
Hmm.
based on what people needed. Then I
Hmm.
equipped myself with the right certifications, the tools, and the knowledge, and then went ahead and started doing the consulting work.
Awesome. All right. Okay. So very long journey of entrepreneurship, 15 plus years. How do you actually go about creating, what your business model is? Is it something that is concretized from day one, or is it something that you keep working on?
Oh, definitely. A business model and your offerings is something which is a very iterative process. It does
Mm,
develop based on what your consumer needs, what your client needs, what are their
mm,
aspirations, and how what you think fits into their life. And
yeah.
it has happened the same way in all my businesses. So if I talk briefly about my first business, which was a product based business, I started
Mm,
out being into the space of room decor, furnishings, and
mm,
decor items for kids rooms.
mm,
But as we went along, in nearly 1.5 to 2 years, we started getting inquiries more about smaller items and gifting items, stationery items, and
mm,
eventually, from a furnishings business, we transformed into being a gifting business.
yeah.
So it was only purely based upon hearing and listening to your clients and customers as to what they
Mm,
need the most.
mm,
Similarly, it happened in the second business that
mm,
I started out being sales consultant, and
mm,
how the industry works, that it was primarily business consultants who were telling people about how to grow revenues and sales, or
mm,
sales trainers who are
mm,
just giving workshops to organizations and corporates and never
mm.
knowing whether the executives and professionals are even implementing those skills or not. So
Sure.
this was again a sweet spot and differentiator where I started out working as a consultant, but it was more of a coaching element and advisory element that came in.
Mm,
And
mm,
similarly, in Done For You podcast, we started off
mm,
with purely being a company which provides post production to our
mm,
clients, but effectively now we are doing a lot more in terms of immersive marketing, extended
mm,
distribution, reaching
mm,
of the podcast, even the branding and strategy of the entire business also. So,
mm.
so yeah, it basically evolves based on what your clients need from you.
Absolutely. I mean, I in my first startup, I had pretty much the same problem where I had an idea and I wanted to implement it in a certain way. But when I started talking to the customers, I realized that they wanted it. They were happy with the idea, but they wanted it packaged differently, or they had different objectives. So I think it is important that of course, you need to have a starting point because that's what your business is going to be made of. But you do need to listen to the customer and kind of iterate what you're offering. I know that, since you've done it 3 times, I'm pretty sure that now it comes naturally to you to look at the customer feedback and say, okay, these are the changes that I need to make, or these are the things I can add. But would you have some pointers for somebody who's starting out new? What kind of mindset do you think they need to have in terms of, being able to experiment?
Hmm. I think when someone is starting out, the one thing is that it's not just enough to listen to what your customer says, but be very, very mindful and observant about the words they are using. Just to give
Hmm.
an example, in one of my earlier consulting projects, we were working with a social enterprise where we
Hmm.
were doing stitching and capacity building initiatives for women to help them become self-sufficient in
Hmm.
terms of how they can start up their own micro enterprise and that kind of a thing.
Hmm.
And you know how it is in the social sector that the beneficiaries or the people for whom you are doing the work, they are always considered as underprivileged and some
Hmm.
people who need help. It is
Hmm.
like they are shown as you are someone who is going to empower them. So that's the
Hmm.
kind of wordings and messaging they always
Hmm.
use. But when I started working with them, I went through the registration applications that these women had submitted. And it turned out that they already are very well settled. Their husbands are
Hmm.
doing good. They are sending off their kids to schools. And it is just in between the day, 2 to 3 hours of
Hmm.
time that they have. They want to utilize it to make some money for themselves. And they want a productive use of their free time. This
Hmm.
in no way communicates that they are underprivileged or they are victimized or they need your help. No, they
Yes.
already are empowered. You are not
Hmm.
someone who's going to empower them. In fact,
Hmm.
our role was just to provide those right opportunities so that they can
Hmm.
make use of them. And
Right.
that entirely changed the concept and the messaging that we were giving away to these women as well
Hmm.
as our corporate funders.
Hmm.
And that's the power of not just listening to your customer but very minutely observing the words they are saying.
Yeah, that's a great example actually, because when obviously the organization started, as you say, or most social enterprises use the words empower, because that's I guess what evokes an emotional feeling with other people,
Yeah.
that this is what you're doing, as opposed to saying creating an opportunity which is very incidental, that
Yeah,
you could
exactly.
take it up. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
right.
All right. So I'm sure you've dealt with failed plans.
Oh,
Has that
many.
happened to you? Walk
Oh,
us through something.
definitely. I mean, I would be a biggest liar on the earth if I say I've not failed in my entrepreneurship journey. so, so I think failures. I wouldn't say you right. You've used the right word actually. Again, failed plans, not failures, but failed plans. That's the
Hmm.
right word. And
Hmm.
yes, we do plan. We do roll out lot many ambitious plans of we will do
Yes.
this, we will do that, and things don't work out. That does
Hmm.
happen, and that has happened with me. Now, how to
Hmm.
deal with them is
Hmm.
first is I always acknowledge the fact that, okay, yes, this is something I tried,
Hmm.
but it didn't work out.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I put in any less efforts or my focus was not there or my commitment was not there.
Hmm.
I did my best. I tried my level best. So after the thing has not worked out, what I
Hmm.
uh, come back from it is in a way where I say to myself that I had put in my best efforts. So it's
Yes.
not that there was any slackness or any less commitment from my side. And that
Hmm.
in itself is my achievement. So
Yes.
maybe the strategy didn't work out, maybe the plan didn't work out, maybe the
Hmm.
goals that we had put there on the chart didn't work out, we didn't achieve
Hmm.
them. But
Hmm.
were we full on with our efforts? If that's
Hmm.
there, then I think this in a way is a win for me.
Yeah.
So for me, plans change. Plans are again iterative. They change, they
Yes.
evolve. Sometimes the strategy doesn't fit in. So it
Hmm.
again is an iterative process of doing a business. But I never sit with a sad face that, oh my god, my life is ruined, I will not be able to do it, otherwise I wouldn't have done third business. So
Absolutely.
coming back and bouncing back from these experiences is part and parcel of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember last year I was trying very hard to create products, because, as you know, I'm in the service industry, right? And
Yeah.
products is something that you can scale really quickly, and it can kind of go on autopilot. And I was really, really focused, and my entire year went in creating one product, and that failed, second product, third product, and then when I was evaluating my year, I did find that yes, I put in all the effort, but what I was lacking was that I did not have enough audience right now to actually utilize, to convert it to customers for the product. So I would,
Yes.
as you say, that it is not a failure. It is that it's a failed plan, because why? There was
Yeah.
perhaps an aspect that we did not consider, or there was something that that did not leap to our eye, and now I am more aware of it, and hence I know that, okay, for me, probably product needs to be launched when I have acquired X number of followers, or I have gathered this much amount of audience, because that's when it's really going to convert. So it is part of our life as entrepreneurs to go through, create, and put in our 100% into creating a fantastic plan, and then realizing that the minute you launch it, it totally tanks. But you come back with it maybe a year and a
Yes.
half later.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think it's always in retrospect, and only when you come out of that phase that you are able to properly evaluate the entire process. And once you do that evaluation, it will be in your good interest if you can keep emotion out of the entire process. If you are
Yes.
able to keep the emotion out, then you can actually learn from that entire experience. So it will become
Yes.
a learning journey and process for you, rather than something which goes into your heart and in your memory as something, oh my god, I feel so sad when I always think about that failed plan or
Yeah,
failure. So yeah.
absolutely. Great. All right. Great conversation. But before I let you go, three businesses, do you have any tip for entrepreneurs who are starting out with their first business? Anything that is your mantra or that you live by?
Yeah. So, in fact, my mantra always and the message always to first time entrepreneurs, especially, is a culmination of what we've already discussed in this conversation is that I know getting started is always the hardest. There will be lots of internal as well as external barriers to you starting a business. Your mind will say, your inner mean girl will say that, hey, you are not good in finances, you don't know bookkeeping, you don't know how to do market your message, you don't look good, your product is shitty, you don't know tech. There are so many reasons your mind will give to you for not starting a business. And if you are strong enough, you will be able to not look at those 10 reasons, but the one why and the one purpose which will help you lead forward and go forward. So just focus on that bigger purpose and why. Getting started will always be hardest, but as an entrepreneur, as a committed entrepreneur, your job is just to focus on your purpose and go ahead and follow it. And the second thing is that once you have started, failures and setbacks is a natural thing. Don't get disheartened by it, but always celebrate your small wins. What will keep you going is giving yourself a pat at the back that, hey, I did well. Hey, I made that sales call today. Hey, I closed that deal today. That first client, that first marketing message. Just yesterday, we launched our community for Done For You podcast. That is a big win. So I celebrated that, hey, we did the public announcement of our community. So these are small little wins, which in retrospect, again, will look very small to you, but at the very moment, they are big. So celebrate them. Don't miss out on those celebrations.
Absolutely. Very well said. And I'm sure it'll inspire other entrepreneurs to, stay committed. And for the ones who are dealing with imposter syndrome to kind of really get involved in being a part of their business and, selling it. So thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for coming on Unboxing Entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Pallavi. It was nice talking to you. And I hope your listeners and viewers got some value from this conversation today.
I'm sure they did. Thanks a lot.